The Crown Prince said, "I have something to discuss regarding the envoy from the Ming Empire. There is something that must be confirmed by the emperor." The king, curious, asked, "What is it?" The ministers whispered among themselves. "What is he thinking this time?" The Crown Prince smiled, silently analyzing the situation. The first step to filling the royal treasury is securing a monopoly on golden-tipped pens. We need to ensure that Joseon merchants gain exclusive rights to trade these pens in the Ming Empire. The king furrowed his brows as the Crown Prince continued. The Emperor of Ming keeps demanding more of these pens from us, which clearly shows how much they value them. The Ming Empire is many times larger than Joseon, so as I mentioned before, their demand for golden-tipped pens is far greater. The Crown Prince paused briefly before continuing. Moreover, every time the chief envoy comes to our nation, they always demand excessive tribute. Therefore, we must request an imperial decree to limit their demands. A nervous Sung immediately interrupted. "Your Highness, that is impossible. The Ming Empire sees Joseon as a subordinate state. How dare a vassal complain about their lord's demands? That would be highly disrespectful." However, the Crown Prince challenged him. "How is it disrespectful? Are you saying it's acceptable for a great empire to oppress a smaller kingdom?" Sung insisted. "That's not the issue. If we suddenly reduce the tribute we've been offering all this time, there will undoubtedly be consequences." The Crown Prince grew frustrated. "This old man always opposes me," he thought. Raising his voice, he said, "Do you know where all this tribute comes from? Isn't it the result of the hard work of our people? Furthermore, the amount of tribute the Ming Empire demands keeps increasing, which means less food for our people. At this rate, even the taxes that fill our royal treasury will dry up. Shouldn't we prevent this disaster before it happens?" Sung remained firm. "That is because your Highness still does not fully understand state affairs. The people in these envoys are all eunuchs. They are the closest servants to the Ming Emperor. If they speak ill of us to the Emperor, we could face grave danger." The Crown Prince retorted sharply, "Do you really think the Ming Emperor is a fool?" Sung stammered, "That's not what I meant. But your Highness is still too young. I fear you may bring great harm in pursuit of minor gains." Now angered, the Crown Prince shot back, "What does this have to do with my age? Did you just say bringing great harm for minor gains?" He continued, "Every time a Ming envoy arrives, the tribute that they take stretches for miles. Isn't that wealth plundered from our treasury and our people?" Fixing his gaze on Sung the Crown Prince pressed on. "The wise men of ancient times said that a true official ensures the people can live in peace. Yet you insist on bowing to and serving these eunuchs. How can you possibly believe this is right?" Sung tried to respond. "Your Highness, you are exaggerating. We are not bowing to them." But the Crown Prince cut him off. "I am not finished. Seeking profit must never come at the cost of our nation's honor and dignity." He then quoted an ancient teaching, "A righteous man, even when living in luxury, still shows compassion. Even when seated at the highest position, he maintains his integrity and always follows the path of virtue and righteousness." Now tell me, surrendering our wealth and licking their feet, does that align with any of these three principles? If not, how dare you still call yourselves virtuous officials? After saying that, the Crown Prince knelt before his father and earnestly pleaded, "Father, please allow me to lead this envoy. This time, I will personally submit a petition to the Emperor of the Ming Empire and do everything I can to put an end to this unjust practice. I beg you, grant me your permission." He looked at the king with unwavering determination. "It is true that I am still young, only 9 years old, but my resolve stands taller than the highest mountain." The king massaged his temples, gazing at his son with deep consideration. "The journey to Beijing is long and full of hardships," he said heavily. However, the Crown Prince remained undaunted and replied, "Joseon is currently facing both crisis and opportunity. If we know how to seize it, this could lay the foundation for 1,000 years of prosperity. But if we fail, we will remain nothing more than a small, isolated nation." His eyes were filled with hope as he added, "I hope you understand my intentions." The king let out a long sigh and said, "Return to your quarters, Crown Prince." "Attendants, the Crown Prince seems too agitated. Escort him back and have him calm himself." Desperate, the Crown Prince cried out, "Please, father, please grant my request." But the king's command was absolute. With a heavy heart, the Crown Prince returned to the Eastern Palace. Once he arrived, frustration consumed him. He shouted, "Everyone, leave!" The attendants quickly exited, leaving him alone in the hall. His mind was in turmoil. "That damn Sung dares to look down on me just because I'm young. He has opposed me at every turn since the beginning. I won't let this slide. Just wait and see." His gaze sharpened. Then, calling for one of the eunuchs, he ordered, "Prepare for a journey to the Ming Empire." The eunuch was stunned. "What? Why so suddenly, your Highness?" "I said, prepare my things now." Meanwhile, in the main hall, officials had gathered to discuss the matter. "Your Majesty, we cannot act as the Crown Prince suggests. We beg for your understanding, your Majesty." The king let out a deep sigh before speaking in a heavy voice. "Do you know how much sleep that child gets each day? No more than 6 hours. He is only 9 years old, yet he is already thinking about how to bring prosperity to this nation. And all of you do nothing but say, no, no, and no." The officials lowered their heads in shame. "We deserve to be sentenced to death, Your Majesty. We deserve to be sentenced to death." Suddenly, a palace servant rushed in, panic written all over his face. "Your Majesty! There's a serious problem. The Crown Prince is preparing to leave." Everyone was stunned. The king's eyes widened as he exclaimed, "Where is he going?" A eunuch answered nervously, "It seems the Crown Prince intends to go to the Ming Empire." For a moment, the king stood frozen. Then, fury overtook him, and he slammed his hand down on the table. "That insolent boy! Does he think he can do whatever he pleases?" Fuming with rage, the king stormed out of the hall and hurried toward the Crown Prince's quarters. As he arrived, he spotted two eunuchs leaving the room. "You there! Stop right where you are!" he commanded. The two eunuchs immediately turned and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, we offer our respects." The king glared at them. "Aren't you eunuchs from the Eastern Palace? Where do you think you're going?" One of the eunuchs hesitated before finally stammering, We were on our way to the royal secretariat, Your Majesty." The king narrowed his eyes. "For what purpose?" Swallowing hard, the eunuch replied, "We were ordered to record all the tribute items given to the Ming envoys since the reign of the late King Taizong." Silence filled the air. The king's expression darkened even further. Then suddenly fury burned in his eyes as he growled, "Just what is that boy planning?" Meanwhile, in the Empress's chambers, a servant came running from outside, her voice filled with panic. "Your Majesty, the Empress, there's a serious problem." The Empress turned, startled. "Why all the commotion?" The servant, still catching her breath, finally managed to say, "The Crown Prince is packing his belongings. He's preparing to leave for the Ming Empire." The Empress's eyes widened in shock. Upon hearing this, real concern filled her voice as she exclaimed, "The Crown Prince is planning to go to the Ming Empire? Does he think this is just a simple stroll through the village? How did this happen?" The servant quickly responded, "He wants to stop the Ming envoys from demanding excessive tributes. A minister from the Ministry of Justice claimed the Crown Prince was overreacting, and that's why he decided to take matters into his own hands." After a brief pause, the servant added, "And the king is already on his way to the Eastern Palace." Hearing this, the Empress furrowed her brows. Her expression showed clear tension and concern. Without wasting another second, she rushed out of her chambers, running toward the Eastern Palace. Her thoughts raced. "What exactly are you doing, my son?" The palace attendants hurried behind her, calling out, "Your Majesty, the Empress!" Meanwhile, in the Eastern Palace, the king could no longer contain his fury. He pointed directly at the Crown Prince and shouted, "You insolent child! What is the meaning of this reckless behavior?" With unwavering resolve, the Crown Prince replied firmly, "This is not reckless. I am simply fulfilling my duty as the Crown Prince." Outside the hall, ministers stood in neat rows, but none dared to step inside. The king's furious voice echoed throughout the palace. "You foolish boy! Do you even realize how old you are? How could you act so recklessly?" The Crown Prince responded firmly, "Age is no barrier to doing what is right. It is merely an excuse for people to claim someone is too young to take action." The king's anger flared even more. "Why are you acting so irresponsibly?" Just then, the Empress arrived, breathless, and called out, "Hyang!" But the Crown Prince refused to back down. With unwavering determination, he declared, "If you are the father of our people, then I wish to be their elder brother. Every time an envoy comes and goes, our people suffer in silence. How can I stand by and do nothing?" Furious at his son's defiance, the king clenched his teeth and roared, "This boy, to the very end." Finally, the king gave his command. "Head eunuch, bring me the punishment rod and the discipline bench." Gasps filled the air. Everyone outside was stunned and worried. Panic overtook the Empress as she rushed toward the hall, crying out, "Your Majesty!" The palace attendants behind her were equally alarmed. The moment the Empress burst through the doors, she desperately pleaded, "The Crown Prince is only 9 years old." The king frowned and retorted, "Precisely because he is still young, he must be disciplined and taught a lesson. This is not your place to interfere." Then, turning to the eunuchs, he commanded, "Escort the Empress out of the hall." Fear gripped the Empress. In desperation, she shouted one last plea before the eunuchs could take her away. "Your Majesty, please show mercy." The first strike landed harshly on the Crown Prince's legs. With each blow, the king roared in fury. "Your first mistake was growing arrogant over your little knowledge. Your second mistake was failing to respect those who serve you and not knowing how to conduct yourself properly." Despite his young age, the Crown Prince did not cry out or make a sound. He merely clenched his teeth and endured the pain. His legs were now covered in deep red welts from the relentless strikes. Yet, the king showed no sign of stopping. He continued, "Your third mistake was disobeying your father's command. Reflect on your actions today and make sure this never happens again." Outside the hall, the Empress could hear everything. Her sobs had long dried into silent despair. The ministers stood stiffly, their eyes fixed anxiously on the closed doors. At last, the doors swung open. After administering the severe punishment, the king took heavy breaths before stepping out and giving a final order. "Summon the royal physician to treat the Crown Prince." Everyone quickly responded in unison, "Yes, Your Majesty." As the king walked past them, he noticed the Empress still sobbing. He ordered her to take care of the Crown Prince. Then, glancing at the ministers, he left them with one final remark. "You chatterboxes are no better than children." One of the ministers couldn't hold back and muttered, "How could the crown prince act this way?" Another minister, noticing the empress was still nearby, quickly warned, "Quiet! The empress can hear you!" The empress, her voice filled with fury, turned to the ministers and scolded, "All of you! How is it that a child could see what you all failed to, allowing things to get this bad? I will never forget what happened today." The ministers lowered their heads in shame and could only reply, "We deserve to die." In the crown prince's chamber, the empress scolded her son, repeatedly smacking his bottom. "You little troublemaker, why do you always make me worry? You can't keep acting like this. Do you understand?" The crown prince cried out in pain. Lying on his stomach, he thought to himself, "In both my past life and this one, my small legs have endured too much." After a moment, the crown prince was surprised. The empress had stopped hitting him. Instead, she was silently crying, heartbroken. Then she leaned down and embraced him. "I have no one left now but the two of you." Hearing this, the crown prince softly replied, "I'm sorry, mother." The scene shifts to the royal palace. The king sat tall on his throne, looking down at the gathered officials before turning to the eunuch. "Eunuch, bring me the documents the crown prince had you prepare." The eunuch quickly responded, "Yes, your majesty," right away. After presenting a stack of documents, the king carefully reviewed them. With a firm voice, he stated, "The smallest tribute they demand is equivalent to 2 months of our annual treasury, while the largest can reach up to 5 months. Holding up the documents, he questioned, "Do you see this? This is the record of tributes given to the Ming Empire over the years. The amount we send has only increased. If we also count the goods looted from small villages, the total equals nearly a full year's budget. What do you have to say about this?" The ministers remained silent. Furious, the king slammed his hand against his chair and bellowed, "Why won't you answer me? Even a mere child like the crown prince has thought about this, yet none of you have?" The ministers lowered their heads and replied in unison, "We sincerely apologize, your majesty." The king then issued a stern order. "Select the envoy representative and his aides within 2 hours, then report back to me. If you fail to decide within that time, I will charge you all with treason." The ministers quickly responded, "Your wish is our command." That night, as the king gazed at the moon, the silence was broken by the empress's voice. "Your majesty." The king turned to her and asked, "What is it, empress?" She answered, "I stepped outside for some fresh air. I couldn't sleep." After a brief pause, she hesitated before speaking. "Your majesty, why did you punish the crown prince so harshly today? I feel like you were even stricter than usual." The king was silent for a moment before replying, "The crown prince is a smart child." Hearing this, the empress looked up and the king continued, "But there are times when he gets too caught up in his own intelligence. Today, he faced opposition from the ministers. And this is the result. A tree that grows too straight can be easily broken. Without the trust of the ministers, how can he ever rule the people properly?" The empress remained silent, watching him closely. The king added, "I believe the crown prince was born with the qualities of a wise ruler. That is why, from now on, I will teach him to the best of my ability, guiding him toward the right path." Hearing this, the empress gave a soft smile and replied, "I may not fully understand the deeper meaning behind your actions, but I have no objections if this is the path you wish to take." Despite the severe punishment he gave the crown prince, the king wasted no time in ordering the ministers to select the envoy and his aides. While the crown prince's actions were extreme, nothing he said was wrong. However, it was true that his approach had crossed the limits of what the king could tolerate, so he was punished. This video ends here, but the story isn't over yet. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next part.